Hey, good night. I hope everyone is going good or doing well. Tonight is going to be interesting, I think, because we're going to be talking about relationships. Yeah, relationships. So, healthy relationships, that is. Healthy relationships. What makes a relationship healthy? Or what can we do to have good relationships, um, to have positive things more than negative things within a relationship, and stuff like that. So I will start with talking about who is in the relationship, who makes up the relationship. A lot of times, a relationship extends beyond two people because families are involved, and therein lies one layer of problems, or it could be an opportunity for improved relationships. Sometimes one person's family can cause serious problems for a relationship. And it is understanding the difference between your family giving you good advice to keep you out of trouble and understanding if this person is worth separating from your family sometimes. So if we, I mean, I try not to be religious or anything, but if you go along the lines from a religious perspective, when you get into a relationship, you actually put in that person first, not your family, your mother, your father, anybody else, but that person. Of course, it's the balance between exercising wisdom, using wisdom, and determining what actually is good for you, what is good for the relationship, and so forth. Too many times you hear about mama's boys and daddy's girl and whatever else, because just yesterday someone was telling me about a situation where he was in a relationship with this girl and she basically broke up with him because of her family. And another situation would be the reverse as well. I mean, even my own family tried to, well, would have influenced me as well in terms of who I should be with and so forth in my younger years. Because, I mean, but in my case, I appreciated those interventions because sometimes parents and people on the outside can see what you can't see, and it's to know the difference. So it's not a hard and fast thing that you get through just like that, right? And then there are issues of knowing who you're with. For example, another issue comes up is if one person is working for more money than the other, if the person who's working for more uses that against the other person to rub it in their face or to make them feel small and those kind of things. Obviously, that's not a healthy relationship. There are other things, so many. I mean, as I'm sitting here and it's live, so many things are running through my head to speak about at the same time. So family intervention or interruption is one, which can be good or bad. Then you have finances playing a role in a relationship. It could be positive or negative depending on who you're with, their attitudes towards finances and so forth. Because sometimes you need the other person to be the captain of the finances if it is you have problems saving and so forth. But if they are the one who treats you differently or negatively because of not making as much money or anything like that, then you have problems. Then you have situations where one person is a gambler and as they get paid, the money goes to the casino and stuff like that. Again, another unhealthy situation. Then you have the basics, which I would have alluded to before, such as when you're just starting out, people tend to be all lovey-dovey, hugging and kissing everywhere, buying gifts regularly, going out to fancy restaurants, and stuff like that. Basically, if you know you want to be in a long-term relationship with this person, and if you know you cannot afford to maintain carrying them to a five-star restaurant every week, spending $1,000 at dinner every time, if you know you cannot maintain that, then you shouldn't do it. Because it sets expectations high, and when you're in the relationship and it's accepted that, these are the places that you would go, then your partner would be looking for you to continue to be at those places, to continue to carry them at those places. Even if they don't consciously think it, they're going to find eventually that things are different. And that is when the other person in the relationship starts looking elsewhere. Because you started off taking them to dinner, you started off buying flowers or chocolates or gifts or whatever it is, and as you get in, metaphorically and physically, those gifts stop or they don't come as often. And then there is temptation for cheating because somebody else will buy them the gifts and somebody else will take them to the fancy restaurant so that they can get in metaphorically and physically as well. Literally. So it is to treat the person well, especially if you want to be with them long term. But as I say in everything, manage expectations. Manage your expectations that, your income is X or Y, so then you can't spend $1,000 every time you all go to dinner. I'm just using that figure randomly, because some people can't afford it. If you can, that's great. But sometimes it's not about the amount of money, but the effort that you put into the date. It could be a picnic. It could be so many different things, as opposed to, because I've spoken to so many people who talk about, well, they want to go on a date, but they have little money and so forth. Sometimes it's not about the amount of money, but the amount of effort, the amount of planning that goes into it, and the activity itself. Because the key thing is that you don't want somebody to fall in love with what you did on a date, but you want them to fall in love and be in love with the person that they're on this date with, the person that they're doing the activities with. That's supposed to stand out based on how you act and how you treat them during the date or the experience that you're having. And too many times we focus on spending money to impress, and then we can't maintain it. So and the other thing, other than money, expectations in terms of time, if you, depending on your jobs or your plan, career and so forth, when you get promoted, you might have less time to do certain things, and of course that creates problems as well. When people, even though they may not be able to recognize it offhand, when things change for them, it causes them to think about, maybe I should be with somebody else because this person has less time for me, this person is not taking me out as often as they used to, or this person is not spending money on me as they used to, and stuff like that. Even if somebody is not, what is the word? Okay, even if somebody is not in a relationship for money only, but you are accustomed to doing certain things at a certain standard, or you were doing that for the first week or first 2 months of the relationship and then it just stopped, then you false advertised. You're not being what you offered to begin with. You're not giving them what you were showing them at the start. So then whatever, I use any term whatever as opposed to whatever you projected at the start, make sure that that is what you can project 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road. And I think a lot of marriages fail because of the inconsistency in the relationship. Continue dating throughout your relationship. Not because you get engaged, or not because you get married, or not because you get together for 6 months, that means that you don't have to go out every week, or that does not mean that you don't have to buy gifts or whisper sweet nothings or communicate regularly or anything like that. All those things, whatever you offer to the start, need to be maintained in order to miss any problems that the relationship may encounter. And sometimes people are like, well, what did I do? I didn't do anything. The point is, you might not have done anything. And that's the problem. You were supposed to do something. And sometimes people want to feel wanted, want to feel desired, and so forth. So the other thing is, in a healthy relationship, is not to stick to the same routine too rigidly. And that includes where you go on dates, that includes what you do in bed, that includes the number of times you call or when you call, that includes that sex is not gone to every second Tuesday of the month or something like that. That some things are spontaneous, but understanding your partner so that you know what they like and what they don't like. So not every time they would have to say they need this or they need that, or they want you to do this or they want you to do that, because by understanding who they are, you can provide their needs. And sometimes they themselves may not be able to recognize what they need, and it's in you loving them and caring for them you can see and anticipate needs and make things so much better. And sometimes people unintentionally drop hints for you, and sometimes they intentionally drop hints for you. Whether it be intentional or unintentional, be on guard for when you get those hints about what you should do, what they want for Christmas, what they want for birthday, or whatever, those kinds of things. If you have a vested interest in a relationship, it becomes easy to know what somebody wants, and if it's not a specific thing, it might be a certain theme of things that they appreciate, or certain places, or certain food, certain things that they appreciate, that those kinds of things will inform you as to what would satisfy the person that you love, or the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life. And somebody once told me, if it's meant to be, then it shouldn't be hard work. That's not the case. It wouldn't be hard work, because if you love somebody, you do things for them out of love, so it doesn't seem like work, as the first clarification. The second clarification is that it does require effort to be in a wholesome relationship. It requires a lot of effort to be in a wholesome relationship. And people are oftentimes not willing to make the effort. And again, that is how relationships fail. So far, in case you missed it, the point is, one, when you start to date, yes, you want to impress, but impress in a way that the person recognizes the impressor as opposed to the things that the person impresses with. Meaning, the quality of the conversations, the activities, as opposed to the amount of money spent or the amount of time. Sometimes it's quality time as opposed to quantity time. What you do with the time as opposed to how long you spend with them. And maintaining, if it is a certain formula works when you just meet somebody, then that formula is what you need to continue after you are in the relationship. So if every day you used to tell this person, I love you, then you need to continue doing that, telling them that you love them. If you used to spend $100 on dates, then you need to continue spending $100 on dates. Hi, Tony. You need to spend, I noticed, you need to spend the same amount 6 months in, a year in, or more, depending on how the economy goes and so forth. What I'm saying is, and people sometimes tease me for this, but I keep saying manage expectations. And in relationships, managing expectations and living up to the expectations that are established are what will help maintain a healthy relationship. Right, so that's the dating aspect. And right, so apart from that, you have, okay, I'm terrible at remembering dates sometimes. Luckily, we have technology, and technology can help us to remember birthdays, anniversaries, and a whole host of other things. Utilize technology if you know you're going to forget. Remembering simple things sometimes goes a long way. I think I ask a lot of questions, but sometimes I do it just so that they know that I'm interested in what's going on with them. And sometimes some of us like to do more talking than listening. That's another critical thing in a healthy relationship. Listening so that you can know what the other person really is saying. But sometimes it is not the literal spoken words, but is how they say something. It is when they say something. And then you can determine from that what really you're supposed to be saying, or what it says you're supposed to be doing. And after a while, because I truly believe if you care about someone, after a while, caring for them prompts you to want to know more about them, so that you would definitely be able to eventually anticipate what they want, anticipate what they need, and those kinds of things. A critical thing which I've pounded into the love of my life is communication. Communication is key. And communicating helps to make everything clearer. And let me stick a pin there to say text messages and text message like in Messenger or via phone, whatever, once it's written messages can be quite dangerous. The spoken word, communicating verbally, telephone, voice note, whatever, is a lot better than a text message. Text messages and letters cannot portray tone and intent as clearly as verbally saying something. And even in saying something, facial expressions as well help deliver a message more appropriately. So not only be careful to know what you're saying and how you say it, but the medium you use should be, as far as possible, live in the sense of communicating in person, and where that is not possible, communicating in like video chat, and thirdly, telephone as opposed to text messaging, because of the potential risk of misunderstanding, which can happen quite often when people don't understand or because of the frame of mind they might be in, because of a previous conversation, they may interpret what you're saying as being vexatious or rude or whatever, when your intent would have been different. So speaking it actually would avoid some arguments. Trust me. Right. So managing expectations, communication, anticipating needs. Those are the three that I would have mentioned. Any of you watching want to contribute anything? Tony, are you there still? Christian, Anne, Sherry, Winfield, Anderson, Rhea. Anybody want to contribute anything? Alright, so cool. Right, so what else? Out of the topics I would have covered on the relationship, helping a healthy relationship. I think I've covered the broader things. Right, so to expand on anticipating needs, that goes across the board in every area, whether it be health needs, nutrition needs, sexual needs, meeting those needs, all of them. And it is through understanding your spouse, your wife, your husband, that you are able to meet those needs more effectively. So I want to encourage us to, one more thing. I was going to say I want to encourage us to seek to have healthier relationships, but before, in terms of broadening the scope of what I was speaking about, is piggybacking off of what I said last night. Anything worth doing is worth doing well. If you're going to do something for the person that you love, do it well. Not half-assed or last minute and then say it's spontaneous. No. If they're worth the time, take the time. If they're worth the effort, make the effort. Alright. I think I'm gonna sign off there. So thank you so much for watching. If you love someone, tell them you love them. If you love someone, show them you love them. So therefore, Tony, I love you. And anybody else who wants to communicate, please send messages and so forth. And subscribe to my channel and share the videos, etc. Thank you. Have a good night.